Hello, fellow wanderers. We wanted to put together a wrap-up video of our trip through Canada and into Alaska. We started from Spokane on June 30th and came back across into the lower 48 on August 2nd. Along the way, we learned a lot. We took a lot of pictures and a lot of video that never made it onto any of our other videos that we wanted to share with you all.
The milepost was incredibly helpful because I was the navigator and I would have this open on my lap with camera beside me, and this is how we decided where to stop for the night, where to get gas, what might be roadside things that we wanted to check out. It was absolutely wonderful.
We were very purposeful on where we stopped and got diesel. We didn't have any problem finding it along the way. Through Canada, it was fairly expensive. I think the most we paid was almost $5 a gallon. The gas stations in the major cities we stopped in all carried DEF, so we didn't have any problem finding that, having that with us.
I found shopping for groceries in Canada and Alaska to be no problem. Usually we would do that in a bigger city like Whitehorse, and had no problem recognizing brands, getting what I wanted. I did discover though that Costco in Canada only takes a MasterCard, so that was a little bit of a complication for us. I think one of my favorite places was right as we crossed the border in Canada. It's Soyuz. I was amazed at the lake and the orchards and the vineyards. It is definitely a place that I want to go back to because it won't be too far from home in Washington.
We'll definitely do that. One of the places that we stopped was the Tetsa River Services and Campground. They had really good cinnamon rolls. They also had a really big cat who was quite friendly. And when we were there, the cottonwoods were in full bloom and looked like it was snowing. Just before we left Spokane, I had our windshield on our truck replaced because we had a fairly sizable crack in it that just before we left got a whole lot bigger. About an hour outside of Dawson Creek, we got another chip in it. I was able to find a Speedy Auto Glass in Dawson Creek, and in 45 minutes had it fixed. Through the rest of Canada and Alaska, we didn't get any more rock chips. We felt pretty lucky. One of the things that we did while we were in Dawson Creek was to go to the Alaska Highway Museum. That was really a lot of fun and gave us a lot of context before we actually started on our journey along the Alaska Highway, and really gave us a sense of what the Army Corps of Engineers had to deal with as they built the road.
One of my favorite stops along the road was Liard Hot Springs. It was a gorgeous walk on a boardwalk out to the hot springs, and then the hot springs were amazing. It was a large pool. That one end was incredibly hot. I didn't wander over there. Stuart did. But the middle part was very comfortable, and then there was further away from the source, it was actually cooler and had some really interesting places you could swim to. That was a lot of fun.
Our goal on this first part of our trip was to drive the Alaska Highway and go to Homer.
We've been to Homer many times. We love the quaint little town, but we had never driven there, and our goal was to drive up there and stay in my brother and sister-in-law's KOA, the Baycrest. So that was a lot of fun, and it is beautiful. Totally recommend it. And we were able to have about 4 days of fun with my brother's family.
No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me, I'm losing every battle.
I think on our journey there were two places where the drive was incredibly beautiful. First of all was driving to Valdez. Uh, Amazing glaciers, beautiful waterfalls. Unfortunately, the sun was not out, it was pretty cloudy, but it was still a very beautiful drive. The other one was driving down Highway 37A off of the Cassiar Highway down to Stewart, BC. That was absolutely gorgeous and would recommend either one of those, either as a day trip or actually staying down there. We took just a day trip to go to Valdez, but we did spend 2 days down in Stewart, BC, and went into Hyder, Alaska.
Some fabulous places to go that we did not stop at. We just drove through because we'd already been there. Is Denali, Jasper, and Banff. Totally worth even the drive through if you can't take the time to stay.
The roads themselves were pretty good. The first 20 to 30 miles after you cross from Canada into Alaska, those were pretty bad. And then, of course, the Tok cutoff from Tok, Alaska down to Glen Allen was absolutely horrendous. And we have a completely separate video on that whole adventure. So we decided not to go back through the Tok cutoff, but go up through Denali and Fairbanks. We stayed in Fairbanks for a few days and then headed back into Canada. I guess one of the things that was a little disappointing was most of the way through Canada and Alaska was either very cloudy or it was very smoky. There were quite a few forest fires going on in northern Canada and in Alaska that made the visibility at times pretty poor.
One of my favorite things along the way, as most of my friends know, I am a wildlife lover, is we saw in Canada and Alaska about 30 bears, mostly black, but we did see a grizzly, and not as many moose as we expected. We probably only saw about 8 to 10 moose, but a lot of wood bison and elk and deer. That was very enjoyable for me.
what's up, what's going on. Simple truth, I'm low, let's get it on. Touching the stars, touching the stars. Dancing, 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 feel like dancing in the moonlight. Dancing, 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 feel like dancing in the spotlight. Depending on you, depending, depending, depending on you. Into the city where the lights are, to turn it up and turn it on. Into the city where the night starts, depending on, depending on. I love the night, love the night. Let's do it all. I love the light, love tonight. Let's do it all. We do it all. Where are you? What's up? What's going on? Simple truth, I'm low. Let's get it on. Touching the stars, touching the stars. Dancing, 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 feel like dancing till the daylight. Dancing, 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 feel like dancing in the spotlight. Depending on you, depending, depending, depending on you. Into the city where the lights are, to turn it up and turn it on. Into the city where the night starts, depending on, depending on. I love the night, love the night. Let's do it all. I love the light, love tonight. Let's do it all. We do it all.
During our journey, we were totally impressed with our Ram 3500 pulling our 35-foot fifth wheel. Up and down passes, it had absolutely no problem. Being a diesel, having the engine brakes was absolutely fantastic. We could go down a 7 or 8% grade. The engine brakes would kick in. It would gear down to the speed that I was at and would never even have to touch the brakes all the way down the hill. I was really, really happy with the pickup truck that we have.
We had nothing break inside, thanks to my friend Lori, who taught me how to set up my drawers and shelving and everything. We had nothing break. We had a few kind of crazy things where something would fly out of a cupboard, mainly in the bathroom, and then the cupboard would close again. But we went on some pretty bumpy roads, and if that's all that happened, we're okay with that.
All in all, this has been a fantastic journey. We're really excited to check those off of our bucket list and to start the next phase of our journey through the lower 48. We're in Montana now. We'll be heading through the Dakotas into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then on to the East Coast for the fall colors. So I hope you like this video. Please leave us a comment or a question. We'll get back to you. Hit that subscribe button.
Hit the notification bell.
And we will see you wonder where to wander.